Hey guys, what is up? What's going on? Welcome back to another video. I hope you all are having a fantastic day. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about my opinions essentially on House progressive Democrats, and I think that they cost the Democratic Party seats in the House and possibly seats in the Senate. That's hard to determine though, but we're going to have to take a look at 2020 election results. I know I spelled election wrong. It's just a typo. I can spell election. Whoops, I just accidentally unfollowed Dave Wasserman. Don't need to do that. But really, I do think that how the progressive Democrats did cost Democrats seats. I think that polarization is not good. But really, and I'm biased. I'm not super far left. I'm more moderate. I'm more centrist. And if you ask me to vote for a progressive Democrat, like I'm more center left, but if you ask me to vote for a progressive Democrat or a more moderate candidate, I'd probably lean towards the moderate, even if it is a Republican, depending on who it is. But again, I'm biased. I'll admit my biases, but I do think that we have to take a look at the data here. And the data is, for example, according to Dave Wasserman, the biggest top of ticket underperformance by any House incumbent in the country, Ilhan Omar in Minnesota's 5th District. She got 100, no, well, not 100 though. She got like 80,000 less votes than Joe Biden did. And as a percentage, she got 64% of the vote. Joe Biden got 80% of the vote. Her House challenger, got 30,000 more votes than Donald Trump did in this district. Now, this is a blue district, so she obviously won, but she underperformed Biden significantly. And this is a state that I think Minnesota will be competitive in 2024. Maybe it'll be more like a lean Democratic state, and it could be a toss-up by 2032. But right now, I think this is important. And what's up, Con? Yeah, hi, Con. Shout out to Con. He subbed to me on YouTube. Okay, so yeah, now a lot of this is due to the defund the police thing, and I just saw a tweet here that reminded me that's getting a heart, because I don't think that defund the police is very popular. It's popular with the base of progressives, but we have to remember that the Republicans, the way they win elections in some of these areas is by just pointing fingers and tying. For example, here's proof that they did cost the Democrats seats in the Senate. In Montana, Steve Bullock really should have won that race, and I'm not saying it was rigged. I'm just saying that he was a popular governor. He was a moderate conservative Democrat, and he lost by nearly 10%. So he should have won that race, but all Steve Daines had to do, and he's in a red state on a presidential year, so he had to tie Bullock to Chuck Schumer. Of course, Chuck Schumer isn't progressive, but he literally just called and he said they're going to pass a radical left agenda, and that turned off a lot of voters who voted for him in 2016 for governor because he wasn't going to be in the Senate. That's what cost, and by tying these, like, there's the reason the Democrats have been, for example, what was a red state that Democrats were able to, like, for example, this year the Democrats didn't really win any red states. They didn't come close. Now, Arizona is the reddest state that they won in at the Senate level, and it was still a blue state because Biden won it. Now, they came close to winning in Iowa. I mean, they weren't super close, but they came close to winning in North Carolina. But that's still a toss-up state, and Doug Jones lost by 20 points in Alabama. He was the incumbent. He was going to lose, but he was the incumbent. So, really, all these Republicans have to do. In Kansas, Barbara Bollier should have made that race a lot closer. And if that was in 2012, Barbara Bollier probably would have made that race a toss-up. But the reason that these Democrats that are moderate, like Steve Bullock and Barbara Bollier, like the reason that they're losing in these states, in these red states, and Barbara Bollier, for the record, is a former Republican. She's far from far left. But the reason that these moderate Democrats are losing in red states that they would have won in a few years ago is because all the Republicans have to do is tie them to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and say, they're going to pass a radical left record, and that's not true. Barbara Bollier is far from radical, but we still have to remember that, that turns off a lot of voters who are going to split their ticket, like Trump Bollier. There was still some Trump Bollier voters, but turned off a lot of them. So progressives like Ilhan Omar, who are unpopular because of their defund the police stance, which does not help them in the Rust Belt. That's why, I think Gray Peters should have won by more than he won by, but, I said he was going to win by like 2%. He won by 1.7. So, I mean, it's, and then in Maine, Susan Collins won re-election because she tied Sarah Gideon to the far left. Sarah Gideon isn't particularly moderate. She's not a progressive Democrat, but she's not really a moderate conservative Democrat either. And she didn't need to because she was running in Maine. But Maine is a moderate state, and they voted for Susan Collins again. To the shock of many people, I think, I've read like 3 articles on that, and I'm starting to realize why Susan Collins won. And I'll talk about that more in a video that I drop later. But really, it's just unfortunate because, it's unfortunate for the Democratic Party because they're not like Barbara Bollier comes to mind because she was a former Republican. She would have governed, or she would have served in the Senate as a very moderate Democrat, possibly as a Joe Manchin type Democrat. And progressives, they cost these Democrats seats. Now we're going to take a look at the House. And then we're going to convert to the presidency. Now let's take a look at, first we're going to start off, let's go to Minnesota, in that 5th district. Yep, that's Ilhan Omar's seat. Yeah, she did win against Lacey Johnson. And there's a talking point that Michael Moore from the Legal Marijuana Now Party got 9% of the vote. The Legal Marijuana Party, there were a lot of third parties in Minnesota, right here. Annie Craig is a moderate Democrat. She won in a contested district with a spoiler. So this isn't just unique to Ilhan Omar. And she still would have underperformed Biden if you gave her every single vote from the Legal Marijuana Now Party. And I'm telling you right now that a lot of those more moderate Biden voters cast a ballot for the Legal Marijuana Now Party instead of Omar because Omar is so progressive. But I know you're going to say, no, but the Legal Marijuana Party is progressive too. And yes, that is probably true. But most voters don't know that. And most voters know Ilhan Omar a lot better than the Legal Marijuana Now Party. So let's go to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's. Hopefully that didn't show up because I always forget to turn on notifications. So now we're going to go to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's district. Alright, so she won with 69% of the vote. She got 105,000 votes. In 2018, for the record, and I just saw this on Twitter, and I'm not going to pull it up. In 2018, she got 5,000 more votes than she did now. You know why? Because I think she's already turning into an establishmentarian progressive Democrat. And that is the worst thing possible. Progressive Democrats say they're not part of the establishment, but I think AOC already is. And I think that people, to be honest, are turned off by her message, her refusal to compromise. She hasn't done anything in Congress. And I know that a lot of this is my opinion, and I know I don't want to trigger any progressive Democrats. Those are perfectly fine viewpoints to have. I don't think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is evil. I just think she hasn't gotten anything done in Congress, which is why she got 5,000 less votes than she did 2 years ago in a midterm election. Now, 2 years ago was a blue wave. This year was more of a red ripple or no wave. But still, that should not have happened. You should not be under no circumstances should you be getting less votes than you did in a midterm election. So, yeah. She underperformed her tally by her 2018 tally by 5,000 votes. So that's important to know. We also have to remember that she won in her district easily, and there's all this stuff saying, oh, well, she won her district by 38%. Yes, but that's a very blue district. This district was 80% Democrat in 2016 when Joe Crowley won re-election. So yeah. Now, I want to take you to South Carolina, where Joe Cunningham narrowly lost to Nancy Mace. Lost by 5,000 or by 6,000 votes. So, the reason that he lost, I think, was because this was more of it was less of a blue wave year than it was in 2018. But we also have to remember that Nancy Mace and Joe Cunningham is a very moderate Democrat who supports expanding on Obamacare, not Medicare for all. So what the Republicans do in these areas, like in South Carolina's 1st district, which is kind of suburban, rural suburban, but more suburban areas, that's how the Democrats win elections. That's how Cunningham won in 2018. What they have to do is tie these Democrats to socialism, and that's how they win. And by the way, in Florida, you know why Donna Shalala lost and why everyone was like, oh my gosh, how is Donna Shalala losing? Let's find, show me more. Maria, that's Carly's, no, that's wrong district. Donna Shalala lost because she was tied to socialism. And a lot of these voters in Florida, they come from Cuba, they come from Venezuela. And every time they hear socialism, they're very turned off by it because that's how the Republicans win these elections. They turn off voters by using socialism, by calling Democrats socialists. That's just how they win. Donna Shalala won in 2018 because AOC wasn't in Congress. Now AOC is in Congress and is probably the best-known Democrat in the House of Representatives, other than Nancy Pelosi. Neither of those people are particularly popular, by the way. And I'm not, and I think Nancy Pelosi also hurt the Democrats. Now, in the 26th district of Florida, we saw a similar narrative. Now, Debbie Marcos-Powell is actually is further to the left than Donna Shalala. And Carlos Jimenez, who's the mayor of Miami, who is a very good candidate, he was able to just tie her to AOC, and she lost re-election in a district that she won 2 years prior. Obviously, it was close. It wasn't a blowout, but that's because she won it 2 years prior. And that's why Joe Biden lost the state of Florida, because Donald Trump did a lot of, he called Joe Biden a socialist. Now, I understand Biden had a Latino problem, but he called Biden a socialist, and that stuck. He tied Biden to Bernie Sanders, that stuck. So that's why Bernie Sanders would have lost by 8% in Florida. That's why Biden lost by 3% in Florida. Now, there are reasons that socialism can help. In New York, you get higher turnout from New York City when you run on a socialist campaign. But that's only in New York City, and Democrats are going to win New York no matter what. So, yeah. Now, really briefly, I want to talk about one more thing before I end this video. And I want to go and take a look at the state of Oklahoma, where I don't have the map, but I think I can explain this on my own. Now, in Oklahoma, I think a few months ago, they had some primary, and along with that, they had it was just a mini election, that kind of thing. And along with that, they had the option to expand Medicaid. And Oklahoma, in a very red state, as you can see, not a single blue district, voted to expand Medicaid. And that was a talking point for a lot of progressives. They're saying, wait a minute, Oklahoma voted to expand Medicaid. Yes, Oklahoma did vote to expand Medicaid. But Oklahoma did not vote for a single-payer insurance or single-payer healthcare system in America. Oklahoma did not vote to defund the police. Oklahoma did not vote to make every single college four-year tuition free. Oklahoma voted to expand and build on Obamacare and Medicaid. That's how in 2018, how did Democrats win? They ran moderates like Abby Finkenauer in Iowa, and I know she lost this year, but that's probably because she got a lot of votes, or she got a lot less votes because of AOC. Abby Finkenauer, she lost this year. Abby Finkenauer won 2 years ago because she ran on expanding Medicare. That's how, by the way, speaking of Oklahoma, that's how Kendra Horn in this district right here, that's how Kendra Horn won. I thought it was Kendra Horn. That's how Kendra Horn, who lost re-election this year, that's how she won 2 years ago. That's how, a lot of these, that's how Amy McGrath, she ran on in Andy Barr's district. She made that very competitive when 2 years later, Andy Barr wins easily. So, I do think that socialism and progressive Democrats have appealed to a certain type of voter, but that's only a third of the country. And 2/3 of the country says that they are, says they're uncomfortable. With socialism. So this is exactly why I think that AOC running for president in 2024 is a bad idea for the Democrats. She'd probably lose the election. This is why I think that they need to distance themselves from AOC if they want to win re-elections in the Midwest. And just going to the Senate for a second, this came to mind. In West Virginia, Paula Jean Swearengin was a progressive Democrat. She tried to primary Joe Manchin in 2018, who later won that election. She would have lost 2018. She would have cost the Democrats a seat, which is why they're very happy that she lost. She said she could win this race, even against a popular incumbent. Yeah, she was going to lose, but she got 27% of the vote. She underperformed Joe Biden, who didn't even campaign here. She underperformed him. And she had the time, obviously Joe Biden wasn't going to go to West Virginia because it's not a swing state, but she was campaigning in West Virginia. Joe Biden was campaigning in Pennsylvania and Ohio and Michigan, not West Virginia. So I think that says a lot. And who are Democrats who are going to win in these areas? Here, I'll give you candidates. Bill Clinton won in Arkansas. Phil Bredesen won in Tennessee. Andy Beshear won in Kentucky. Claire McCaskill won in Missouri. Jason Kander came close to winning in Missouri. Joe Manchin won in West Virginia. Joe Donnelly won in Indiana. The only Democrats that win in these regions are moderate Democrats, conservative Democrats. Progressives like Paula Jean Swearengin, they don't win these races. And I think that proves it. So thank you for watching this video, guys. I'm going to try to edit it to the best of my abilities. I'm going to try to add in visuals, so hopefully that'll work. But thank you for watching, guys. See you all tomorrow. Like and subscribe. Share. Goodbye.